Dad and I were sitting, talking over our usual Friday glass of scotch. Just one shot, 2 ice, and a splash of water. When out of the blue he begins to tell me this story. I'm not even sure where it came from in his mind. This is about Dad and his friend Lou Richardson. We used to call him Uncle Lou. As best as I can determine, this happened around 1949 and represents a time before the forces of life, job, family, building a house, and growing a family business took over his purpose. This was probably a simple age that we have all experienced and all remember with some hidden fondness. The biggest, most deadly threat to civilization and world peace, World War II, had just ended only 4 years before, and a whole generation of men and women were returning to what was becoming the new normal. Now the characters in this story are 2 men, very young men, best of friends, and a dog. One of the men, Bill was his name, was a small, wiry, compact man. He had forearms like Popeye, working for a time as a mason building culverts for America's growing highway system. He later claimed he would carry 2 or 3 concrete building blocks in each hand at a time, up and down ladders, because time was of the essence building America. The other man, his name was Lou. Now Lou, what to say? Lou was a big man, powerful in the way he carried himself. The spitting image of Richard Boone, right out of Have Gun Will Travel. You may need to look that one up. Lou, he had this ruddy complexion and a cigar nearly always hanging from his mouth. Both these men were products of the Great Depression and rural America. Each knew how to survive and how to make do. Each understood the value of hard work, honest relationships, support for family and community. They both knew that nothing was ever for nothing. These 2 men had a shared passion. They loved to hunt. Hunting was less a sport then and more a contribution to life itself, and each knew the meaning of a well-owned and well-cared-for rifle, shotgun, or handgun. Not sure there was a preference for game because every animal gave in some way to the meal on the table. But as you most likely know, every different animal required a different gun and a different technique to hunt. And this is where the dog enters the story. The dog's name was Pal. Pal was Lou's dog. Pal was a mutt. He was a mix of beagle and some other unnamed variety that made Pal just a little bit bigger and a little bit faster. Pal loved to run rabbits, and Bill and Lou loved it when he did. Now Lou was a townie. His family lived down by the river in one of those small houses built in an earlier time, built for the mill workers. It was a comfortable but simple home. Bill, he lived just outside of town. He was a farm boy. That house was a large house. It had many rooms, and his mother would often freely invite family friends or those who occasionally needed just a little help to a warm meal and maybe a warm place to stay. The family didn't have that much money, but they understood the need. They understood community, and they knew how to share. Well, as a crow flies, it was about 1.33 miles between Lou and Bill's house. 1 mile more if you followed the streets and roads. But if you took the short route, you had to cross a main highway, several streets and neighborhoods, and then finally up over the mountain. Locals, they called it the Pinnacle. During the time of this story, Lou worked days and Bill, he worked nights. Circling back to Pal, the dog, Pal had spent so much time with the boys hunting that Pal had developed split loyalties. He would spend nights with Lou, but during the day when Lou was at work, Pal would make the trek from the house by the river, across that main highway, several streets and neighborhoods, up over that mountain, the Pinnacle, over to the farmhouse. He would whimper and scratch at the kitchen door until Bill's mother would let him in. Mother would give Pal some treat from the cupboards, after which Pal would wind his way through the halls of the big house, making his way to Bill's bedroom, and lay down on the floor until Bill woke up. When Bill left for work, you guessed it, Pal would reverse the journey back over that mountain, across those neighborhoods, streets and highways, back to the river, and back into Lou's house. Pal would eventually pass on, and Lou and Bill would pass through life. Like Pal, traveling their own journeys, their own directions, making years for themselves and their families, years filled with stories that could also be told large. They would meet up every so often throughout the years, like old friends do, reuniting in their passion for the hunt and for their history, until one day Lou would pass away, and Bill, who is now 91, could no longer. But he always remembers Lou, and he remembers Pal, and that long walk from the river across the highway, streets, neighborhoods, and mountains, just to sleep next to his bed. Thanks for listening.